This is the Fearless Agent Podcast, where you learn how to make way more money fast selling real estate with your host, the Fearless Agent himself, Bobloeffler.
Good day to you. This is Bob here, high atop where I'm on the 5th floor of the lovely studios at the Fearless Agent Podcast for real estate sales professionals just like you, where we explain that every single thing, everything you've been taught by the real estate industry is wrong, exactly wrong, and you will make lots more money in way less time by doing the exact opposite. So today's topic, well, I'm just going to start by talking a little bit about sports. You know, I'm not a sports guy. I don't watch sports on TV. My wife is a sports junkie. When I was a little kid, I was an ice hockey superstar. And you're thinking, really? In Arizona? How do you become an ice hockey superstar? Well, I'll tell you why. It's 140 degrees outside. They build an ice rink when I'm a little kid. Next time I go, yeah, I'm going in there on the giant sheet of ice. That makes perfect sense. So I played hockey. That was my thing. But I don't know anything about basketball, but I was watching an HBO, that's on cable TV, for those of you who don't know, HBO, kind of a documentary about Bill Walton. So Bill Walton is a, basketball superstar, and he went to Helix High in La Mesa, California when he was a high schooler. So he's a high school basketball superstar, kind of like I was a little hockey guy. So he gets drafted and all that by John Wooden. Now, John Wooden, if you don't know anything about him, he had this little thing that he called the Pyramid of Success. So, I like to focus on people who are successful and say, hey, what do they all have in common? What are they doing? So he would have this little pyramid of success, and it had these little things in the pyramid like competitive greatness, poise, confidence, condition, skill, team spirit, self-control, alertness, initiative, intentness, industriousness, friendship, loyalty, cooperation, enthusiasm. And then he'd have like these little, aphorisms or something written in each of those. So here comes Bill Walton. He gets recruited by John Wooden, and John Wooden says, okay, here's what we're going to do. First day of practice, everybody take off their shoes and socks. So everybody takes off their shoes and socks, and John Wooden, the coach, says, I'm going to teach you boys how to put on your socks. And Bill Walton says, wait a minute. I'm a basketball high school superstar. I think I know how to put on my socks. So John says, here's the thing. You roll them down all the way, and then you roll them up real tight, okay? You roll them up real tight, and then you put on your shoes, and you lace up your shoes, because if you had a little wrinkle in your sock, and I need you to make that game-winning shot when the seconds are ticking away at the end of the game, and you have a blister on your foot or something distracting you, I can't have that. Okay, so Bill Walton's going, what's with this old guy? He's got this pyramid of success and all this stuff, shoes and socks. So they did the same 5 drills, over and over and over. Nothing ever changed every day in practice, same thing. Year number 2, beginning of the season, what do? Shoes and socks. Same 5 drills. So what Bill Walton said in the documentary is, we would play other teams, and when you're warming up out on the court before the game, you'd see these other teams doing all kinds of drills, all kinds of different stuff. He goes, we just did the same 5 drills. And what it did was anybody who ever played for John Wooden would get right into the rotation. They'd always know where you were going to be. They'd always know where the ball was going to be because we did the same 5 drills. So what was the result of that? Well, it was the winningest record in basketball history. They were undefeated for 4 straight seasons, 88-game winning streak. So the thing about Fearless Agent is we're doing kind of what John Wooden does. Same 5 presentations. We get better and better and better at 5 presentations. We have the same 5 conversations on the phone all the time. We're getting better and better and better at the basics. So when we talk about advanced, we're really always going back to the basics. So the trouble with real estate is people never, ever learn the basics. How many real estate agents at the end of their first 12 months have learned a listing presentation? Even that. How many agents at the end of their first 12 months of the business have learned a pricing presentation that would cause the seller to have it be their idea that you should underprice their house on day one and beg you to do that? How many agents at the end of their first 12 months in real estate would know a for sale by owner presentation? Because the for sale by owner has to be sold on the idea of using an agent before they're ever sold on using you and before they're ever sold on the price. How many agents at the end of their first 12 months have learned a buyer presentation where they can effortlessly get the buyer to sign a buyer-broker agreement and be loyal to you? And in addition to that, how many agents at the end of their first 12 months would be able to do a investor presentation that would cause the investor to get a dramatically higher rate of return than they could get any other way? So, and then how to present offers in a professional way. So every fearless agent in way less time than 12 months is going to learn all those things. And I don't think there's another agent on planet Earth that has ever learned those things in 12 months that were not a fearless agent. So we're going to be like John Wooden for you here on the podcast in Fearless Agent Coaching. If you would ever like to be on the podcast, you could always call me, and we can coach you right here live. And, heck, we'll give you a plug. So I have my business partner. Her name is Doreen. She cooks, okay? She's a little bit of a chef-type person, I guess I'd say. So she explained to me there's a difference between baking and cooking. The difference between cooking and baking is in cooking, it's a little dash of this. So, we're going to kick it up a notch with that. We're going to add a little of this, put a little twist on it. In baking, it's a science project. If the ingredients aren't measured exactly, you end up with some sort of explosion, or anything could go wrong, but it certainly ain't going to taste good, and it might kill you. So we are baking here at Fearless Agent. We're not cooking. We're not gonna tweak it. We're not gonna change things. And so one of the things that I would like for you to do is, just if you're brand new in real estate, maybe you're getting restarted, getting restarted, be a good idea to assemble a list of your family, your friends, your acquaintances, people that know you, like you, trust you, that could perhaps refer business to you if they trusted you, okay? And we'll teach you how to get them to trust you later on. Then there's, to help you compile that list. Now, when I was brand new in real estate, I was 27 years old. I had been a biker, scuzzball, loser, doofus. So I didn't have a lot of people that liked me, trusted me. But what I thought about was all the schools I have attended. So if you're new in real estate and you're listening to this, you might just write this down. Schools you've attended, jobs that you've had. I had a series of dead-end jobs, restaurant jobs, all kinds of stuff, but that served me well. There was people that were willing to hire me. I don't know what they were thinking. Churches that you've attended, organizations that you've been a member of, clubs that you've been a part of, spouses that you have been married to for some of you. But just to jog your memory of all the people that you know that maybe if you look them up on Facebook or LinkedIn or something like that, you could connect with them and find out what their phone number is and call them and ask them for referrals. So in Fearless Agent, we teach you the exact right words to say that are comfortable for both you and the person that you're calling to get referrals And then it's a good idea for you to kind of keep. Now, I'm not a big stat tracker, okay? That's not my nature because I'm a sales guy. I'm organized, but, I'm into the outcome and not the process kind of a guy. So but the secret is the process really is the goal, okay? So keep track of the stats on a weekly production report. So weeks, by the way, are an artificial thing. Humans invented the week. It's not like a lunar cycle or a solar cycle or something like that, like the month is and the year is or the seasons. A week is just kind of an artificial thing. It's 7 days, and we kind of think a week at a time. So what I would have you do is keep track of certain things each week and then create your weekly schedule for prospecting, have that as an appointment, and then think about what you would like your goal to be. We've talked about this in previous episodes. Maybe you have some shallow goal like, guys would have a car probably, I don't want your goal to be world peace. I want it to be shallow, like a car, like a Corvette or something like that. Reasonable, not a Bentley, but Corvette's a reasonable thing, and pay cash for it. And then break that down into a doable thing, and then choose zip codes that you're going to target that are likely to have equity. I think on our we did a live coaching call last week with a guy, and we, recommended that. Zip codes that have equity to focus on. So if you are keeping track of your numbers, here's the numbers that I would like you to keep track of. Number 1 is the full hours you spend telephone prospecting if you're focused on sellers. Now, I coach a lot of people who are focused on buyers. If you're focused on buyers primarily or only, then keep track of the number of full hours that you spend in an open house and the number of people that come through the door and the number of appointments that you schedule. But for those of you, and most of the people I coach say they want to do listings only. When they come to me, they say, I want to do listings only, but what they're doing is the opposite of what would get you that, oddly. But so focus on this. Full hours spent prospecting, listing the number of listing appointments scheduled. This is weekly. The number of listing appointments you scheduled this week. Your target, your goal should be a minimum of 5. The number of listing appointments attended. That will be a lower number, probably. If you scheduled 5 and 2 of them canceled, that would be normal. Then you'd attend 3. The number of listings that you take, that means it's signed. And then sales that you make. So that would be a buyer under contract, not closed. You wrote an offer for a buyer that you represent, and it's under contract. Listings of yours that sell, so that would be a listing of yours that went under contract, not closed yet, and then the number of closings, which means you got paid. So if I kept track of that stuff. So for years and years and years, I had just kept track of that stuff, and that's not my nature. My mentor, Floyd Wickman, greatest sales trainer in the history of the world, in my opinion, he sold me on the, he's good at sales. He sold me on the idea of doing something that went against my nature. I would never have kept track of that stuff. But for years, on a weekly basis, I kept track of that stuff. And it was kind of eye-opening. So let's say you schedule 5 listing appointments, 2 cancel, you go on 3, and you get 1. Now, a lot of you say, well, my stats are better than that. Well, are you charging 7% and keeping 4? If you are, great. It wouldn't be shocking to me if your stats were better than, but if they were worse than that, if they were just that, I would say, great, you're doing fine. Not that there's no room for improvement, but I wouldn't be embarrassed for you. So If your stats are worse than that, then I'd say, okay, maybe there's a problem. Okay, so if there's a problem, it's going to be you're getting too many appointments canceled before you get to go. What if you're going on, 5 listing appointments and you're not getting any? You're going on 3 and you're not getting any. Okay, that's a problem. That's a fixable problem. There's a training opportunity there. What if you're going on 5 listing appointments or 6 or 3 listing appointments and you're getting all 3 listed? Well, maybe that's a problem. Maybe you're not charging enough. So whatever the problems are that you got, we at Fearless Agent are going to fix them. There's a way to fix it. So all of you who listen, if any of what we talk about on this podcast makes sense to you, if you're earning less selling real estate than you wish you were, that's who we coach. Anybody who's earning less selling real estate than they wish they were, or maybe you're earning plenty of money, but you can't figure out how to do that and still have a life. So I don't want you working weekends. I want you working 5-day week, have a nice, comfortable lifestyle, and make tons of money. So if you'd ever like to learn more, if you're open to the idea of having some help with that and you'd like to learn more, you can always call me anytime at 480-385-8810. That is my cell phone number. And we'll just see if you and what you're trying to do and what we do at Fearless Agent, if it would be a good fit. And I'll be able to tell you if it's a good fit or not. If it's not, I'm not going to try to sell you coaching. We don't do that. We have 100% raving fans for a reason, and that's because we don't sell coaching to people who it's not right for. I love talking to realtors. You're not bothering me, so don't think you're bothering me. Don't email me. Don't text me. Call me, because we're in sales. It's all about the telephone. 480-385-8810. Toll free day or night. If you can't afford coaching but you wish you could, please go to fearlessagent.com. Watch the 45-minute free webinar. Take lots of notes. Go to our video training page. My guarantee is that those free videos will be better coaching for free than any coaching you have ever paid for in the past. And if you ever have a question, again, you can always call me. So again, fearlessagent.com. Now, what I like to think about is, real estate sales, real estate sales training. It really is like learning a new language, And by the way, I am learning a new language. I live in Arizona, which used to be Mexico, okay? So there's a lot of people who speak Spanish here. I think, okay, I'm going to learn how to speak Spanish. Good idea. Sadly, I'm doing it by calling my bank and pressing the number 2. So it's taking me forever, but, you got to go with what you got. So let's pretend that I was leaving town and I have 2 manila folders, my favorite product from the Philippines. 2 manila folders. In one, I've got 10 sellers that will list and close and pay, okay? So these are people that have not had a listing presentation yet, but these are people who will list and they will close. And all you have to do, because I'm leaving town, I can't do it, is go call them up, schedule the listing appointment, go give a listing presentation, preferably the Fearless Agent listing presentation, and take the listing, do what all you have to do, and it'll close. But I'm leaving town, so I can't do it. But you know what? I got this other manila folder, and it's got 10 buyers in it, and all 10 buyers will buy, and they will close. Okay, so these are real sellers and real buyers. Now, these 10 buyers, you're going to have to call them up, schedule an appointment for them to come into the office. You're going to give them a buyer presentation. They're going to sign the buyer-broker agreement and be loyal to you. And then you're going to ask them questions about what they want and what they don't want. And then you're going to search the MLS. And then you're going to schedule an appointment to go out showing houses. When you go out showing houses, you're going to ask them to buy every house. And then you're going to get them pre-approved through your lender before you ever go. And then you're going to show houses, and then you're going to write offers, and then you're going to present the offers and hopefully not get beat out by somebody else. So you know what the buyer gig is. Okay, so now I'm leaving town. I can't help these 10 buyers and I can't help these 10 sellers, but you have a choice to make. You can have the buyers or you can have the sellers. And I don't care which you take. Okay, so which are you going to take? The buyers or the sellers? Please raise your hand if you're going to take the seller. Oh, what do you know? Everybody raised their hand. Yeah, everybody wants the sellers because it's much easier, much higher dollars per hour, no doubt about that. But the reality is, what the whole industry teaches is all buyer stuff. It's never about getting listings. Or they talk about it, they always say list to last. Listings are the name of the game, Bob. And then they never, ever taught me how to get listings. But it was always about the buyer. Every title company always talks about buyers. Every mortgage company always talks about buyers. Every manager at the real estate office was always a buyer agent. That's how you get to be a manager. So the whole industry is so buyer-focused that the sellers are going disturbingly unrewarded, and yet you would all pick the sellers. So at Fearless Agent, we said, hey, that doesn't even make sense. So learning how to focus on listings. So let's say you just wanted to do listings only, and that would be a great way to make a whole lot more money. And again, if you don't like listings and you want to do buyers, hey, I'm all for that. I'll coach you how to do it. We're very good at coaching you how to do that. Our buyer-only agents make tons of money, much less hours, but still it's going to be lower dollars per hour than with the sellers, but that's okay. They just like that. So if you're going to be focused on sellers, you're going to be having to have a great listing presentation. So here are some non-negotiable. These are the basics of sales. So when I was talking about John Wooden and the 5 drills, this is what I'm talking about. So now's the time to write this down. Never, ever talk commission until they're sold on the price. Never, ever talk price until they're sold on you and your company and doing business with you tonight. Never talk about you and your company until they're sold on the idea of using an agent. So if you're talking to a for sale by owner and you say, oh, we got the gold post yard sign, we got the snappy gold jacket, we got the www this, and they go, yeah, well, that's great. If I need an agent, I'll call you, but I'm a for sale by owner. So you're off topic. I don't need it. So you have to sell the for sale by owner on the idea of using an agent. So at the end of the Fearless Agent for Sale by Owner presentation, you wrap it up by saying, so now that you know the facts and the reasons, assuming I'm the world's greatest agent, isn't it a pretty good bet that you'd be better off with an agent? I mean, be honest. And they go, yeah, this FISBO idea, I don't know what I was thinking. It was crazy. Must have been drunk. Yeah, that's over. I'm done with that idea. It didn't work. Then you'd say, okay, well, let me show you how I work. And then you're going to go right into the Fearless Agent listing presentation. If they said, no, I still want to keep trying on my own for a while, then you'd say, okay, well, how long do you want to continue with your house off the market, not selling, until you want to get back together and talk about the only way that you'll ever sell your house for tens of thousands of dollars more than it's worth, more than you could ever get any other way with any other agent, net, after all the expenses are paid. You tell me, when would you like to get back together? And then you book the appointment. So when they're sold on no longer being a for sale by owner, that's when you give the listing presentation. When they're sold on you and your company and listing with you, only then would you ever talk price. When they're sold on the price and doing business with you tonight, only then would you ever talk commission. So if you just do things in the right order, you're going to have a much, much better experience. So what is it that sets Fearless Agents apart from all the other coaching programs or all the other agents are out there. Well, every fearless agent is able to do a magic trick that, or they have an amazing system that gets them results that no other agents on planet Earth and any other coaching program ever were able to do. Every fearless agent is able to walk up to a strange. First of all, they're able to book 5 listing appointments a week. And I'm not talking about these, hey, I'd like to come by and take a look at your house baloney. That's not a listing appointment. I'm talking about there's a date, there's a time. You know everything about their house. You know how much they owe. You know what they think their house would sell for. So you set that all up right. All the decision makers are going to be there, okay? So both, the husband and wife, it's a husband and wife, they're both going to be home. 2 partners that own the house together, they're both going to be there. Or their know-it-all family member that's an attorney, they're going to be there, whoever you got. Just anybody who's a decision maker and not an owner is going to be there. They are motivated. These are real sellers who 100% will not be living in that house 1 year from today. That's how you know they're a seller. If it's 100% for sure they have to sell, and they're not going to be living in that house today, that's real. You've got a 2-hour time slot booked to meet with them, and you've got all the information gathered to do a complete ballpark market analysis. You know how much they think their house is worth. You asked them the $1 million question. If you don't know what that is, go to fearlessagent.com, go to the training videos, go under appointment setting, and watch the $1 million question video, and you know how much they owe. And there's a video on how to find out how much they owe by asking the right question. So what is the right question? Oh, here it is. If you were going to win, people say, how much do you think your house is worth? So they give you a number, okay, over the phone. If you ask it this way, say, if you were going to win $1 million by guessing correctly, what price realistically do you think a buyer would pay for your house? And then they're going to say, I don't know. And then you're going to say, well, if you did know, what would the answer be? And they'll say $437,215.19 because they know, right? So if they say, well, I don't know, and then you say, well, if you did know, what would the answer be? And then they go, well, the guy behind me, his house was for sale 3 years ago, and he was asking, whatever. You say, okay, well, if you were going to win $1 million by guessing correctly, what price realistically do you think a buyer would pay for your house? And they go, well, the guy across the street, he's got his house for sale right now. He's asking blah, 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 and say, oh, that's interesting. Well, if you were going to win $1 million by guessing correctly, what price realistically do you think a buyer would pay for your house? And then sometimes they go, well, gee, Bob, you're the real estate expert. Aren't you supposed to tell me that? I go, oh, yeah, but this is a mental health quiz. I want to find out if you're nuts before I show up. So what's the number? So anyway, I'm going to get that answered, okay? Then find out how much they owe. So when you go on a bona fide, gettable listing presentation, you've found out that all the decision makers will be there. They're really motivated to sell. You got the 2-hour time slot booked. You've got the CMA information gathered, and you've got how much they think their house is worth and how much they owe. Your chances of not getting the listing in one visit are dramatically reduced. So, we want you to do everything not perfect. We don't need perfection. What we need is step by step, never skip a step, okay? So I got a call this morning from one of my speaker friends in the speaker business, and he was talking about one of our buddies that, did a presentation for 140 real estate agents were in the room, and it turned out to be a biblical level disaster. And the moral of the story was he skipped a bunch of steps he never should have skipped. So whether you're in real estate, medicine, you want them to wash their hands before they do the surgery, don't skip steps. Everything. This is not rocket surgery that we're doing here, but skipping steps always leads to bad outcomes. So our goal at Fearless Agent is simply this. If, we want to make you rich. And I also want to thank you for joining us today. Please do visit us at fearlessagent.com. you can go there right now, for goodness sakes. What are you doing? Call me directly anytime at 480-385-8810. Please review our podcast on iTunes. Give us a 5-star review. And then if you don't like the podcast, go to our complaint department located in Council Bluffs, Iowa. That's convenient on the frozen tundra right now. Visit us anytime on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'll be at Dunkin' Donuts later, Randy's Cafe, wherever you want to go. I always want you, always, until next week, have fun, because at Fearless Agent, if it ain't fun, we don't do it. Always, no matter how skillful you get. I always say fearless agents sit on a throne made of the skulls of their enemies. They don't have to put up with the baloney that other people do, but be humble. And most of all, be fearless. See you next week, gang.